Hello! How are you today? I dance a little bit. Your TV is wonky. Not my fault. I didn't do it. I have crazy makeup today. And because I've been trying out different espionage cosmetic products and I'm testing their wear. So everything but the primer on my face right now is like espionage, which is awesome. Anyways, so this is just to go over the information I went over yesterday for a few people who weren't able to see it live. That's going to be like 30 minutes of the stream time. And then, because why not, we're going to sing some stuff and have fun. Thank you, Arislyn. So the first thing I want to do actually is go to the Hooman anniversary video because it's amazing. And we're going to watch that because I'm not tired of it yet and have fun. Okay.
Take a drink, there was a delay.
All over the US, and even Australia.
No. This is gonna be epic.
I'm gonna fuck it up no matter what.
We're all gonna fuck it up. Hey, Hooman.
You got this.
No, we don't. Not even close. Hey, Hoomans. The reason the Who Pod came to be was two main reasons. The first is we really wanted to talk to you guys. And secondly, we wanted to be able to give back.
Oh, that's my part. Hooman has done so much to enrich the lives of everyone, and it's made us better people. And we wanted to get to know each and every one of you, regardless of geography.
Today we have interviewed humans from Malaysia, Brazil, the US, the UK, and even Australia. We look forward to talking to you too.
It began in a little office of Los Angeles called Geek and Sundry. Creators of the wild frontier, known as YouTube, gathered here to forge content unlike any had ever seen. Tabletop, Critical Role, and Co-optitude, merely a handful of what was to come. Soon, Felicia and Ryan, brother and sister, led the Hoomans into the realms of Twitch TV. It is here our tale begins.
Here's your story, let's begin. The water's fine, come on, dive in. The future's here, it's right before your eyes. Step by step, you're on your way. Welcome to a brighter day. Don't you know it feels good to be alive? You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Yeah, and times are changing everywhere. Do we dream and do we dare? It's up to you. The door is open wide. Feel the rhythm of today. Learn the part and join the play. The world is here. Let's take it for a ride. You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams. could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Feel the rhythm of today, learn the part and join the play. The world is here, let's take it for a ride. Hey, you could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. Hey, you could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You can have all you ever wanted. You know you could.
But it really is the community that makes this something really special, and the fact that even one person made a friend through what we make is like, it's a beautiful thing. So don't make me cry. You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You can have all you ever wanted.
And we're back! Yay! So, I love that video, and I figure it's a great way to start these streams because it shows all the things that Team Hooman has done over the last year, which quite a few things. Podcasts, donating charity, everything. Awesome. So, a few of the things that I want to go over is just like what I've been doing with my study, some of the questions I've been asking, some of the information I've been getting back, and the next steps for it, all of that kind of stuff. So the study started April 30th, tabletop day, and basically what I'm interested in is how online communities form, how philanthropy became central to Team Hooman, and how that can be replicated. So these are the central questions that I've been looking at, and I've focused on a few different ways of collecting that information. I've conducted a survey. It's still going for those who haven't filled it out. If you want to fill it out, no pressure. I've been interviewing people. I've been looking through the chat logs for Geek and Sundry and Hyper RPG's chat rooms and all the social media things. All of it. Facebook, Twitter. Yeah, I've been looking through all of that. So far we've had 182 survey respondents, which is amazing. Team Hooman, Eldcroc. It's an online group. They started actually of fans of Felicia Day on Twitch. Felicia and her brother Ryan started streaming, and the audience was there and kind of got this sense of community formed, and the ball went rolling. They eventually got named Team Hooman, and this is actually their second anniversary week. So I've been doing my research with Team Hooman into how online communities can become philanthropic and kind of make that central to them. With Team Hooman, even though they were fans of Felicia Day, philanthropy really became central to who they are as humans. And for instance, last year they donated over $300,000 to various charities. Ooh, that's not a good sound. We're gonna get rid of that right now. So that's why I chose to focus my master's research actually with this group. And this is kind of the check-in date right now, just to see where we are, see if there's any questions about the research going forward. And then the final presentation is going to be end of February, early March. So 182 survey respondents so far. We were aiming for 100, and we reached that within the first 48 hours. So that's amazing. I'm going to leave it open, see if we can get to 200, because why not? I've conducted 16 interviews so far. I originally said I was going to do 15, but it turns out that humans are from so many different places, and I wanted to represent that fully. So I actually went to the ethical review board people and said, hi, can I do this many for this reason? And I've actually increased how many interviews I'm doing. So 16 so far, with plans to do up to another 14 before this research is done. I've been looking at, I think it's actually thousands of hours of chat logs from Geek and Sundry and Hyper RPG. It's a lot of data. I am primarily focusing on the charity drives that the channels have hosted, though. See how people talk about philanthropy and how that matches up to when donations came in, that kind of stuff. And then all the social media. Yeah, I'm looking through the Twitter feeds. I'm looking through the Facebook groups. I'm looking through the Team Hooman Facebook group and the Facebook group for Geek and Sundry when things are related to that. So I've just been trolling around the net a lot. I do want to make a point that although Team Hooman does include members who are under 18, it's an international community. It's got people from everywhere and of all different ages and backgrounds. Because of where I am in California and our laws regarding the legal age for an adult and ethical things, no one included in this research is under 18. So it's all 18 and up here. So that's something to consider going forward. So I want to go over a little bit of the information that I've collected from the survey. One of the things I've been doing is collecting demographic information. Twitch doesn't do a very good job about this. They don't really collect any data. A lot of what they say is what they think it is, but it's not backed up. At least they haven't publicly released anything that backs up what they think the audience is like. 4 a.m., you are supposed to be sleeping. You have work tomorrow. Go to bed. So what I was doing was I was collecting information about that as well. So I could go and say, what is Team Hooman? Well, here's some little bit of information. Here's what the majority, but this is also present, that kind of stuff. So of our 182 respondents, 143 of them said they were Hooman. This is excellent because it means that 39 respondents do not consider themselves to be Hooman, which means that we get an insider and an outsider perspective, and we can actually compare the two to see if Team Hooman is doing something differently, and that can be used for further groups. Twitch tends to say that it skews younger for its audience members, that they are in the low 20s, high teens, that range. With the survey respondents, the age range was actually 18 to 63. Again, 18 is our cutoff, so no lower than that. But the average age was 32 and a half. So we are skewing much older than what Twitch thinks its audience tends to be. Although Twitch and the survey do agree on this, the majority of those who responded were male, 62%. So that lines up with what Twitch thinks. But even though it was 62% male and over 86% white European, things that Twitch agrees with, we actually had every single traditionally, the way that people normally classify ethnic groups, we had every single one of those represented, whether someone who was 100% something or a mixed race of something. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Like 32 and a half. That's the average age of the viewers. And the most common ages were in the high ends of the 20s. So we had a lot of people in like that 28 range, and we had a lot of people in that 33 range. So we are skewing higher than the rest of Twitch, but we also have people up to 63 years old. So it's very interesting data that I really want to get into more and see if there's a reason for that. I also like over 91% of survey respondents make less than 6 figures a year. And of those who don't make less than that, people who make 6 figures or more a year, they are not donating in higher quantities than those in the lower end of that spectrum. So it's not that there are a couple people in Team Hooman with a lot of money who are donating everything. It's actually that there's just a lot of people donating what they can, and that amounts to a lot. Hi, Small Fry, welcome. Well, that's interesting, actually, Alucroc, is even though Geek and Sundry started on YouTube, Team Hooman started on Twitch. And there's a very wide gap between people who consider themselves Hoomans and most of the people who watch on YouTube. So it could explain some of it, but I think that the material is just skewing for an older audience, whether it's the time frames that things go on, or it's the type of content, or it's because of the celebrity draw, and the celebrities that are most represented, Felicia, Will Wheaton, are people that those who are older have seen in things more than people younger. I'm not sure what quite is going on there. And most of the people who took the survey do work. 60% are either self-employed or work for an employer. But the next highest group was actually students at about 17%. So we do have people who are retired, don't work, people who are out of jobs looking, not looking, and people who are focused on studies who are also donating. So one of the things that I did with the interview is the interview was really focused on what is a Hooman, what does it mean to you to be Hooman, and things like this. So when we interviewed Hoomans, the first question was, how did you get involved with Team Hooman? Overwhelmingly, it was Felicia. A couple people were like, well, I found Ryan and watched his stream, and some people said that they watched Geek and Sundry or they came by way of Nerdist, but Geek and Sundry is something that Felicia started, and many people found Geek and Sundry because of Felicia. So overwhelmingly people said, I watched Felicia and then I got involved with this, which really gives an idea about the draw of a celebrity, and might be something to consider for other groups that are trying to promote philanthropy. The next question was, what does it mean to be a Hooman? And Hoomans said that there's no specific thing you need to be a Hooman. Most of us like these things, but you don't actually have to like watching Felicia, Ryan, Geek and Sundry, Hyper RPG. You don't have to do that. Just as long as you try to do good in the world. That's really the main thing that they said was necessary to be a Hooman. There weren't a lot of restrictions on it. People who did not identify as Hooman, however, overwhelmingly said that Team Hooman are fans of Geek and Sundry, and they are Geek and Sundry's community. And I know from reading through the Facebook group for Team Hooman that they consider themselves separate of Geek and Sundry. Yes, many of them are fans and will watch Geek and Sundry, but they want to be considered their own community, not tied to any one channel or organization. So there's a bit of a disconnect happening here between what humans consider themselves to be and what people outside the community are observing, and that might be something to work on in the future. And then the final question was really telling me about a time that they acted as a human, and I really enjoyed the responses for these. I kind of want to make a fun like word map of it, because they ranged from just, you know, trying to be my best person every day to I donated this to this charity, I did this thing with Team Hooman, or I do these things completely separate and this happened. And just there were so many great stories going on there, and it was a really wide range of philanthropy. And what I liked about these stories was it wasn't just focused on giving money. It was focused on, yes, those who can give money, but I also want to do this, and I want to act in a certain way that's positive in my view. And that's really, I think, where what a human is came to light, is when people were telling these stories. Yes, and that's one of the things that I'm interested in Small Fry, is I'm partnered with Geek and Sundry's Twitch channel with Lucas, and I'm partnered with Hyper RPG with Zach to look at business practices that help or hinder the communities. And that's kind of the next phase of the research, actually, because as those who are involved with this community are aware, Alpha recently launched. It is a Legendary digital network program. Legendary owns Nerdist and Geek and Sundry, so it's their program that's combining Nerdist and Geek and Sundry content on a separate live streaming platform from Twitch. And it just launched today. And I've been interested to see what's going on there. Well, they announced its launch today and gave actual information. It's not quite there yet, but you can sign up for it if you want to. And so this is what I've been waiting for, kind of on the business end, to see how this is taken and what they're doing and whether it helps or hinders the Team Hooman community. So if you have any opinions about Alpha, good, bad, whatever your opinion is, and you would like to share it and have it included in this study, you can message me, whispers, DMs, email, whatever the case may be. You can send me that information, and I will consider it in my analysis. And that's one of the things that I want to look at and see how that affects viewership on the Twitch channel, how that affects moods in Team Hooman, and whether that helps or hurts Hyper RPG's Twitch channel, actually, because they do share a lot of the same audience. And so some of what this means for online communities is it gives a really good idea about how you can form a positive community, because Team Hooman overwhelmingly likes to consider itself positive. There are some hiccups. I've gone really far back in the archives of the Facebook group. There are some hiccups. It happens. But they are interested in being a positive community. And I think a lot of websites with forums or live feeds or, Reddits like to have that positive feel and be a safe space. So it gives a better insight into how to foster that kind of a safe space. And I do want to let you know that I have been approached by a nonprofit organization called Braven. They are interested in teaching underprivileged youth how to get the tool. Well, they're interested in teaching them the tools they need to succeed in landing a career job, landing the promotions, and doing the steps in their plan to succeed, whether that be becoming a CEO one day, or if that's running their own podcast and subsisting on that podcast. They are focused on helping figure out the steps to that and giving all the tools necessary to achieve those ends. They have approached me about presenting my research and being included on the toolkit, which I'm super happy about and have accepted. We're going to talk about the details later. And that's where I want to be once this research is completed. I'm going to be reaching out to other organizations that are like Braven and want to foster positive online communities, so that I can talk with them and maybe work with them to do so and to help make their communities better places. The next steps of the research before we get to that phase, though, is to be looking at the effects of alpha. I'll be doing 14 more interviews in that time frame and a lot of analysis. We're going to be doing chi-squares for days, guys. Chi-squares for days. But those are really where I'm at with things. There will be a toolkit produced, and I will go over that toolkit and my final analysis end of February, early March, to coincide with the anniversaries of when Hyper RPG started streaming and when Geek and Sundry started streaming. So let me know if you guys have any questions, you want further information. Let's talk. Let's rap. Let's have fun times. And then afterwards, this is just kind of the unofficial stream. There were 2 yesterday, so you can go over that information, but I think I've covered it all here, and we're just going to sing afterwards because we need songs. So I'm going to type in chat. Allow for 30-second delay. Questions, comments, concerns, secrets of the universe. That one took longer to type. Yes, Arslan. I have gone through. There were some people who just didn't finish the survey, which is expected. We had a pretty high finish rate, like 80% actually, went and answered every single question. And they could answer questions or not answer them. It's completely okay if they didn't want to answer a question for whatever reason. But there was one person who, because I'm a moderator at Geek and Sundry, thought that I was taking advantage of the community by launching the survey on Tabletop Day. And even though it was in partnership with Geek and Sundry, they chose to use the survey to anonymously complain about that and say that I was doing a power grab, which they're entitled to their opinion, but they didn't even sign it, so those were deleted because they cannot be included in the analysis because they didn't sign the consent form. I feel like that's not a full thought yet for a critter. Oh yeah, they thought that I was using my power in a bad way, Arslan, and it was the first person too. 4 a.m. Have you fallen asleep while typing? It's not a complete thought. I think that's a really good approach to things, Small Fry, is if something upsets you, to take a step back. There are definitely things that annoy the F out of me sometimes. And there are also days where I'm just not having anything. And those are times when it's good to step back. I'm still analyzing Arslan, so I'm still looking through all the information, but I am reading everything, and I think it doesn't make me super emotional, but the overwhelming numbers of people who, if they couldn't donate monetarily, said that they donated in other ways, and they talk about volunteering their time, and they recognize that their time is valuable and that it's not just their money that they're good for. That was really striking to me. And also at the same time the humility. I asked in the survey, there was one question that asked if you're a moderator, a crew member, a host, whatever, for either of the channels. And overwhelmingly, people who were not those things said, I'm just a fan. And the word just was used so many times of people being like, no, I'm not this. I'm just a fan. I'm just an audience member. In like this weird way where it makes it seem like there's a power hierarchy there. That I know mods try not to allow to show. They don't really want to be considered as powerful. And for good reason. They're just fans as well. But the idea that people see being a fan as something less and like they're not doing as much, maybe I might be reading into it, but it occurred so many times in the responses that I was very interested in that. I like a lot of games. And do I say your name Eldacroc? Is that how I say it? Let me know if I'm pronouncing it right, because that's important to me if I can. Yeah, so I do this thing called Pokemon Karaoke sometimes, where we play a Pokemon game and we sing, because singing is not supposed to be the main focus of a channel, but we're doing it today because whatever. I play a lot of platformers, a lot of 2D artwork type of things. I really like games like Limbo, for instance, SteamWorld Dig, and then I'll play random things like How to Fool Boyfriend and whatnot, just for fun. Yes, 4am Critter, and that is one of the things that I want to look across. That's not as easy a comparison exported right now, just because of the way the questions were set up. But I do want to quantify where people were from and cross-reference that with what pay scale they said they make in a year, and to see if that had an effect. We had quite high numbers from North America, primarily the US, show up in the survey. However, we had over 15 countries represented in the survey respondents. This is the main reason why I actually asked to do more interviews, because I wanted to represent that. And doing 15 interviews when you have over 15 countries, I think it was 22 at the last count, that doesn't cut it. I'm leaving someone out of the story if I kept it to that. Oh, yay, Eldacroc. I am still accepting surveys, Small Fry. I'm leaving it open right now because we're so close to 200 that I figured might as well leave it open. Also, the what shows do you watch information has changed so much, and with the new alpha release, I kind of want to do a comparison to see if the responses change in attitude between before and after. Hello, Leonardo. I actually did not get a crazy large percentage that identified as mods, Arslan. I had quite a few mods, clearly. I think that there's a little bit of influence from being a mod myself there, but they weren't the majority of respondents. I mean, that's true. You're not going to have 182 mods when there aren't 182 mods. We're at 182 so far, Small Fry. All right. Any other questions? These are good questions. So I have a question for you guys. I'm going to give you some more time if you have any more questions about where we're at with the research right now. But what song should we sing today? Because we're going to sing some songs, dang it. Yes, Arslan. Alpha was in the works, but it wasn't known if it was a separate entity or how exactly it was working, if it was program or whatever. It's been in the works for a while, but we didn't have any details and there was no point of contact for that. So I could not include them. I could not reach out to them at the time that I had to request the research. And with where it stands right now, I was focusing on 2 businesses that had fans of Team Hooman in them and that I knew would have Hoomans in them so that I could look at those differences. The jury's still out on Alpha based off of what I've seen from today so far. Okay. Anything else? All right. I'm going to go down and then come back up so that we can do some other stuff. And, oh, cool. So, yeah, that'll be an official VOD. And then we'll have the unofficial one that may or may not be muted because of singing. The last 2 singing ones haven't been muted, but the one before that was. I don't know. It's odd. So I'll be back in a second. Bye, small fry. Do 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 do.